Hi friends, welcome to the next episode of A Lovely Yarn Podcast. My name is Amber and this is mostly a knitting podcast. Some other crafts are sometimes thrown in there, such as crochet and spinning and maybe even some embroidery and cross stitch, but not today. Today I'm just going to be talking about knitting and yeah, so let's just get started with that. So I am filming from Western Pennsylvania, and before I start talking about the knitting, real quick, I just want to point to my left. This is my dollhouse, and I had a couple of viewers ask me about it after my last podcast. And so maybe at the end what I'll do is just put a little extra video on for anybody that's interested in that. So I actually got this for my birthday last year, and then the plan was to renovate it and to I fix it up. And I've always wanted a dollhouse. This goes back to like my childhood. I got it, and then a week later I got sick, and then I was sick for a while, so it kind of sat. But I did get a lot of the stuff ripped out of the inside, and I can kind of show you that at the end of this video. But for now, I want to just start into the knitting, and let's see here. Okay, so I guess we'll do the finished objects first. That's what I normally start with. And I'm going to show you, this was something I actually meant to show you guys last time I filmed a podcast, but I forgot to bring them over to where I was, or out to where I was filming. So last podcast I filmed out in my garden shed. I wanted to do that again today, but I absolutely could not because it's such a disaster out there, because it is mid-May and I am in the process of, you know, getting all of the gardening stuff ready. We mostly finished our greenhouse, so I have that space as well, but the garden shed is a disaster, so I don't have any room to film out there, so it's back in the house for today. The first pattern I want to show you guys is actually a dishcloth pattern, but it is such a pretty dishcloth. This is called the Almost Lost Dishcloth, and as with everything I mentioned, I'll write all the details below this video. So this is, hey, that matches my shirt. Isn't that so pretty? So I made a bunch of these actually last year. This was my camping knit. I took socks and cotton yarn. I took my sock projects and a bunch of cotton yarn every time we'd go camping, and I would just knit a bunch of these up, and I gave a bunch away. But so this one is made out of, is that Peaches and Cream or Sugar and Cream, whatever that brand is that you can get at like Michael's and Walmart and Joann's and stuff. That's what this is. And this is, I don't even know what this color is. Okay, so I don't know the color of this, and I don't think I have the ball band anymore, but it's just a really pretty gold color. So I did this one, and then same kind of yarn. I also did this one. I just used bigger needles to get a looser gauge. So this one's, as you can see, is a bit bigger than this one. And then I also made this blue one also a bit bigger. So my original intention was, I was just like, I need some more dishcloths, and this pattern looks fun and it doesn't look boring, because sometimes usually I just do, it's called Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth. I usually just make that pattern, but it's not a very interesting knit. So this is not hard at all. It uses, I guess it would be short rows to get this, but it's not hard, but it's so pretty. And so then when I made them, I thought, oh, I want to use these for like candle mats or under my plants. So I haven't used these as dishcloths, and actually I made them in other colors as well, and I gave some to my mom and to my sister. And I gave some away as birthday gifts to a couple of my friends. And so they're just so pretty. And I actually am going to use these. I don't know if I'm going to use them as a dishcloth. I've just had them sitting in my drawer in the kitchen, like where I keep my linens, my table linens and stuff, and my fabric napkins and my doilies and all that. I've just had them in there. But then at Christmas time, I wanted, I had this yarn. It was a hand spun yarn that I had won from a giveaway on a podcast, I think in 2019. And it was 100% hand spun wool. And it was like this green color. And so I thought, oh, I want some candle mats that are kind of matching and will be Christmassy, wintry, the green color. So I just took that ball of hand spun and I just worked my way through it. So they're all different. You can see how the shades, and this one is more of a yellow even. And yeah, you can see I've had my plants and my candles on these. Yeah, and this, so I've just been putting my pots of my planted, or my potted plants that are in my house. I put them on these, and my candles. So yeah, I got 4 out of that little skein of hand spun, and I thought that was a really fun way to use that up, because you know, it was a small skein. I could have done a hat, but I didn't really need a hat. I wanted some candle mats. So the Almost Lost wash or dishcloth pattern, and it is free, and it's really fun, and I'm interested to make more of them out of other different types of yarn. So I've made them out of 100% cotton, and I've made them out of 100% wool, and I think it is really fun to make them out of the hand spun. I have so much hand spun that I think I might have to make some out of some of my hand spun as well. Okay, the next thing I have to show you, I don't have my sock blockers, but I'm not gonna pause this to go get them, so I'm just gonna show you. Besides, these are socks for my son, so they're probably not even gonna fit on the sock blockers because they will be too big. But these are my son's socks, and I showed these on the last podcast. I was working on them back then. Now I'll be able to give them to him. I make stuff for my kids and I tell them, or my husband, I'm like, well, you can't have it until I podcast. So let me see if I can find the ball band for that. Here it is. It's an Opal. And I'm just going to show you because I am not going to try to pronounce this. Okay, so that is the line, and I can put the color. Yeah, it has a color number. I'll just put that down below. There's no use giving that number because you'd have to write it down. If you want it, you can just look below. But I got this yarn from the shop that I've mentioned multiple times. It's on Etsy that I get all this commercial striped sock yarn. And I'll also mark that down below. But anyway, these are 25% polyamide and the rest wool. And I like the pattern. It's not too busy. It'll be perfect for my son. He doesn't like anything that's too over the top crazy. So, okay, and then last podcast, I had asked you guys if you knew of any Shorty Socks that you could recommend, and I got several recommendations. But what I ended up doing for my first try is I just went with a, I just winged it. That's all I can say. I just winged it. And this is what I came up with. And when I say I winged it, it literally was not hard at all. Like, I cast on my 60 stitches and did, I think, 8 rows of 1x1 ribbing. And then I immediately started the heel flap and gusset and did all of that. And then just knitted the length of the foot that I normally would and did my normal toe. And this is the same yarn that I knitted a pair. So the main color is from the Blackberry Ridge, which I talked about this last time. She's no longer dyeing yarn, and her name had changed anyway. But it's called Barefoot in the Garden. And I had knit my daughter a pair of socks in this color. And then the cuff And the toe is also from Ashley. And it is this color. And I don't have the tag. Was it Funky Music? Play That Funky Music. I think that was the name of this color. So I knit 2 pairs of socks with this, and this is what I have left. So I did a full length pair for my daughter. I think last year I had done those. And then I did these shorty socks for myself. And I have just enough that I will save and put into my mitered square blanket, which who knows when I'll even get to that, because I have not been in the mood to work on that for a very long time. I don't even know when I last picked that up. But yes, these were easy. And the only thing I noticed was working on starting the heel flap so soon after just doing like 8 rounds of the ribbing. With my 9-inch circulars, it felt a little bit awkward, and that's how I knit socks on 9-inch circulars until I decrease on the toe. Then I use my double pointed. So it just felt a little bit weird, and I think it's because I didn't have much to hold on to up on top of the heel because I only had 8 rounds of ribbing. But yeah, I think they're very pretty. Now I can wear them because I told you guys about them. All right, so I think that's all I have for my finished objects. So let's talk about what I'm working on. All right, so the first thing I'm going to show you is a hat. And I actually had already started this hat when I filmed last time, but I forgot about it. Okay, so I'm using a pattern that I've used many times before to make this hat, but I'm making it in a different weight. So I'm kind of experimenting, and I'm far along enough in the hat that I'm thinking it's gonna work. But the hat pattern is by Jane Richmond. It's called Christopher. And basically it's a super thick hat. So it's like a double knit hat, basically, is what it is. So you bind, or you cast on your double pointed needles, and then you increase until you get to where you want the diameter of your hat to be. And then you just knit, 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 knit. And then eventually you make this long tube, and then you start decreasing again. And then by the time you bind off, you're down to a point. And then when you finish that, you take one end and tuck it up in the other end, and then you like stitch it at the top. So it's a double thick hat. So I'm going to show you examples of ones I've done in the past using worsted weight yarn, which is what the pattern actually calls for. So this one I knit for my husband, and let me show you here. See, like it's double thick. And then I made it even longer than the pattern said to make, so that he can fold it up for even more warmth. So this is like middle of the winter hat. It's a very warm hat, and I think it's Malabrigo, but I don't remember what color it is because it's been probably 3 years since I made that. And then for my son, I made him a hat as well out of Malabrigo. And it's the same way. I made it longer so that he could make a brim on it, double the brim up, and have extra warmth. And then for my daughter, I made this in the rainbow one, but actually I wear this hat. She doesn't even wear it anymore. I wear this hat now. And I just made it long enough so I could just pull it right on. I can't fold this over. So it's definitely not long enough to do that. And then I made I probably made 6 of those hats in total because they're really nice and warm. And I actually just bought yarn this past winter to make another one for somebody. Just haven't gotten to that yet. So I have this yarn from Colleen of Little Lionhead Knits that I've had for a while. And this one is Roosevelt Island. Isn't that beautiful? And it's the merino and nylon. And then the other one is called Afternoon Cappuccino, and it is the kid mohair silk. So I'm knitting these two together, and I'm working on making a Christopher hat with those two together. So let me see if I can get up close. So this is, it's definitely going to be an orange hat or a coppery hat. As you can see, I'm not very far along because, like I said, I will just keep knitting and knitting. I'm not even halfway yet because I want to be able to fold this over. I don't really have, this is so weird, but the knitter, I knit these hats for everybody else, but I don't really have one that's super warm. So I'll just, like, if I go outside, I'll just grab my husband's or my son's hat. So I thought I'm going to make my own. And with the mohair, I thought that would be, you know, even make it even nicer and cozier. But what I ended up doing, I had to mess around to find this right stitch count. And I actually was able to start, I was actually able to use, I think it was the smallest. So I'm using fingering weight plus lace. So that would be like a sport or a DK. And I'm trying to remember, because there's different sizes. I think that I did the smaller size and somehow it worked out okay. I think I started even bigger and it was going to be way too big because I like my hats to be tight. If I want a hat for warmth, I want it to be tight. So it kind of really hugs my head tight and keeps the cold wind out. So yes, that is what this is. So it's a modified Christopher hat using little Lionhead knits. And I don't even know if Colleen dyes anymore because I'm not on Instagram anymore, but this is her. She's got the cute little, oops, bunny. Yeah, so that is that. That's a great pattern if you want a really warm hat, and it's a super easy pattern. So I highly recommend that. I've used it a lot. Like I said, this is my 7th one using that pattern. All right, so what do we got next? Let me see what I got. Not that. Okay, so the next is a disappointment. It is a disappointment. Do you just hate when you have disappointments with your knitting? I don't like disappointments. But I'm going to show you because I'm going to try to figure this out still. Okay, so my daughter wanted a knit cami. She wanted a knit cami, like a camisole. And so I found a pattern. This is a relatively new pattern. There's a like rippled bralette out that's been out and very popular, but this one, I wanted to do something that looked more finished, and I like, this just looks more finished. So let me show you a picture of it. My printer is horrible. I don't even think that that's gonna, it's just a very neat and polished look. Like it has wider straps and it has a really pretty detail when you're in like right here where it goes to the V-neck. So anyway, I purchased this pattern a couple of weeks ago, and it calls for a tubular cast on, which took me, I've done tubular cast-ons before. Like my Weekender, that's a tubular cast-on, and I don't know that I've done it. I may have done it for other things, but this was, the designer linked a particular cast-on method that she wanted you to use, because I think a lot of time with tubular, it wasn't, this is a ribbing, it's a 2x2 ribbing, that's what it was. A lot of times with the tubular cast on, so when I looked for myself for a tubular cast on video, I was finding a lot for 1x1 ribbings, but not 2x2. That's right. I was like blanking because it's been a couple of weeks since I started this. So I ended up just using the one in the pattern. So if you buy this pattern, if you decide to make this, just use the video in the pattern. When I watched it, I thought, oh, that seems like an awful lot of work. I want to use the one from Andrea Mowry, which is a lot easier, but it didn't work but it wasn't working because hers was for a 1x1. Okay, and there's just an extra step that you have to do for the 2x2 ribbing, which this woman in this video talked about that. So anyway, I think I cast this on 4 times, and part of the reason was because the first time I cast, my daughter's petite, she's very tiny, so I just went with the smallest bust size, and I knitted and knitted, and I got probably 6 inches in, which is a lot when you're doing 2x2 rib. I should show you. So it's 2x2 ribbing, okay? That's what this top is. So I got about 6 inches of 2x2 ribbing, and I was like, this looks huge. And I even went down a needle size. I think it calls for 3, and I'm using size 2 needles. And I was like, this looks huge. This looks way too big for her. So I had her come in, and we were like kind of holding it up to her and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be swimming in this. So I don't know why, because the measurement's not that much bigger than what hers is, but for some reason. So I ripped that all out and I cast on again. I had to go down 60 cast on stitches. So the pattern calls for, the smallest cast on is 224. I had to cast on only 160. So I did that. I've got all this ribbing. And the reason, I don't know, for those of you that haven't done tubular cast-ons and bind-offs, they're more of a finished look. So they are a really nice look because they kind of just make it look like the stitches just roll under the edge. But this is how far I am. So this is long enough on my daughter that it will not show her belly, but it will go right to her, like the line, like her waistline of her pants. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna start the bra portion of it, like this part, which I did yesterday. And I thought I could just modify, and I know that there has to be a way for me just to modify, but it's because it's a lot of decreasing and you're working and you have to keep your rib pattern. I could not figure out how to get the rib pattern to work because I was using such a smaller number of stitches. So I'm like, I said to my daughter, I said, do you just want a tube top? I'm so disappointed. But I don't like, I would love to just say that, oh yeah, I'm just gonna sit down and figure that out. And I don't know, maybe I will, but that is not fun for me at all. And I just like, in my free time when I knit, I like to be able to enjoy what I'm doing, and calculating things and doing math is not enjoyable to me at all. So I don't know. She was disappointed and she felt horrible because she knew how long it had taken me to get to this. And I don't know, do you guys like ribbing? Because it's not the most enjoyable way to knit. It's boring and it's just so, it's just, yeah. So this is a bit of a disappointment. In case you're wondering, this yarn, I have 2 skeins of it, and it's from Knit Picks. It's the Hawthorne fingering. And it did have a color name, but it's not listed on the tag, so I can just put the name on in the description. But it's like charcoal, gold, and an off-white. Yeah. And it is pretty. It's what she wanted, because it's very neutral. So I don't know. I want to put it in timeout. I don't know what I want to do. I was so excited to make her something. You guys know how that is when your children want you to knit them something. You get really excited. At least I do, and I know other knitters do. I've heard them say it. And then when I got to that, and I was so disappointed. So I don't know. We will see. But that is called the Easy Bralette. That's by, oh boy, I don't know that I'm going to pronounce this name right. Svetlana, Volkova, maybe. It's a very pretty bralette. You can see, do you see what I mean by the decreases? Anybody know how to modify patterns like that? Oh, let me just show you this beautiful handmade bag. This is from Olivia of This Handmade Life. She sent me this as a gift, I think 3, maybe 4 years ago now, but it's all embroidered with these pretty flowers. It's one of my favorite bags. Okay. Okay, my next pattern is a pair of socks. My next project is a pair of socks. And this is a pattern by Tin Can Knits. Oh, bummer. I think it's called the Rye Socks. I'll have to write it down for sure below. But I have this yarn from my friend Jody of Flower Hill Fleeces. It's the Lavender Honey Latte. It's based on a drink that we have at the coffee shop I work at. And I've had this yarn since last summer when she came out with this colorway. And so here's my first sock. I think this is the Rye Sock. It just has this panel of the garter stitch down the front. I thought I wanted something that was pretty mindless, but with a little bit of, I didn't want just a plain vanilla. So this is the first one. I just need to close up the toe. I need to do the Kitchener stitch. And then my second one, I'm down below. I'm already done with the decreases and I'm starting the foot. So let me just show you a close-up of this yarn. It's so pretty. It's one of those, you know how sometimes you just get a yarn that makes you happy? The colors just make you happy. It just makes me happy. And I think it's because it's just so beautiful and purple and everything is coming alive right now in Pennsylvania. It's so green. You know, we're like at the point where all of our trees, pretty much all the trees except for the oak, have burst into green, and the oak are always last to do that, and they will soon follow. And you know, we've already had our tulips and daffodils and hyacinth. They're here and gone. And I don't know, this color, it's like the lilac-y color, and my lilacs are actually on their way out the door as well. Oh gosh, guys, right now when you go outside of my house, all you can smell is honeysuckle. I love the smell of honeysuckle. We have honeysuckle that grows profusely here. It's everywhere. It's one of my favorite scents, and I think it's going to be one of those things that will always remind me of where I live in Pennsylvania. Just that honeysuckle this time of year. I love it. I love it. But yes, so these are whatever the Tin Can Knits pattern is. I think it's the Rye Socks. It's on my phone. It's so easy that I didn't print it. I just have it on my phone to refer to. And I'm filming on my phone, so I can't check. So yes, I've been working on those. And another, oh my goodness, I have 3 bags from Olivia, and this is another one of her bags. This Handmade Life. And I might as well just show you the last one I have here. This one as well. Isn't that pretty? Such a pretty fabric. Okay, last thing to show you as far as knitting goes is a sample that I'm knitting for my friend Jody, who is the one that dyed that lavender latte yarn. So Jody is my friend who lives just down the road from me, and she has a farm where she has Icelandic and Shetland sheep. And if you click through to her shop, which I will link below, you'll be able to see she hand dyes yarn on just like regular merino yarn bases, but then she also has her farm yarn, and I'm working on a sample knit in her farm yarn that she's going to be featuring at our local yarn shop. When I say local, it's like 45-50 minutes from here. It's Yarns by Design, and she's going to be taking her farm yarn in there, but she said that you'd also be able to get it online, and she already has some of her farm yarn on there. It's just, this is a new line. This is hold on, let me grab the paper because I wrote it down. This is a sport weight. So I'm knitting the pattern, the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry, using Jody's farm yarn. Okay, so this is the pattern. I'm sure you guys, I'm sure all of you have heard of this. I've actually had the night shift the night shift shawl pattern for a couple of years, that I actually bought it to make a shawl with my hand spun, but I haven't got around to it. So when Jody asked me if I'd be interested in knitting a sample of the Shift Cowl in her farm yarn, I was super excited about doing that. So now this is from her sheep, so it's going to be all natural colors, okay? So we have, they're kind of connected to my project, but I'm going to show you. This is the lightest one I'm using. This is from a Shetland sheep named Roberta. And then we have this medium gray is a mixture of the Icelandic and the Shetland sheep. And this is just medium gray. That's the name of this color. And then this dark one, which you can tell I've used the most of this so far, is one of their ram lambs with merino in it. So it was a Shetland ram, and they also added some merino. So that some of this would not be from Jody because she doesn't have any merino sheep, right? No, she doesn't. And then they also added in some nutmeg. So that merino is dyed nutmeg and, oh, there we go, eggplant. Can you see the color, like the purple? A little bit of purple in there. It's really pretty. I want a whole sweater out of this. I think it looks good with my skin tone. It's really pretty. Anyway, so let me show you what I have. Now this, it took me a lot of mental work to figure out how to do this. What colors to use in what sections of this shawl or of this cowl to get the best showcase of the yarn. And I am not very far along yet. Okay, so this is all the further along I am. But basically, okay, let me see here. Let me hold it right. Yeah, so it's gonna be like, this is gonna be the top. Yeah, okay. All right, so these are, you can see. Now this one is kind of, they're pretty close. And I was worried about that at first, but as I kept knitting, I was like, no, you can definitely see the contrast in there. It's just not as drastic as this. Now, if I've calculated this correctly, it's going to start turning more into this color and this color together, and then a little bit of this at the end. It took me a long time to figure out how to combine these colors. I did a lot of research looking at how other people used solid colors. Okay, I'm back. I don't remember what I was saying. My husband came in to brush his teeth. So then I just waited because I'm filming in our bedroom. So yeah. I was talking about the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn is by Flower Hill Fleeces. But oh, I know what I was saying. So I spent a lot of time figuring how to arrange the colors, and I finally came up with this combination. Oh yes, a lot of people make this in like a variegated yarn or hand spun yarn, so you get a lot of color. So it's not, most people aren't making it with solids is basically what I'm trying to say. And because I was using solids, I wanted to figure out the best way to combine the colors, like the best sequence to combine them. And if you ever do knit this, I know they, just from reading the notes on Ravelry, there are a couple of people that give really good suggestions, like color, now I can't even remember. One of the colors you'll see the more of. One of the color you want to be your pop of color. Like there were people that gave suggestions for that. So yeah, that is something if you decide to knit this, especially if you're using solid colors. Those were some good pointers. Of course I can't remember them now, but that's how I am. I figure out what I need to figure out and then I forget how I got there. I don't know what to say about that. It's just how I am. So anyway, yes, that is it. And as you can see, I'm not super far into this, but it's so nice to work with because it's real sheep, like it's their wool. And one of these skeins, this one in particular, has a lot of lanolin in it. Oh my gosh, I can literally just feel it just by touching the skein. And I think this one also. This one has the least amount of lanolin in it, but it just feels so good because your hands get moisturized while you're knitting. So yes, Night Shift, or the Shift Cowl by Andrea Mowry, knit in Flower Hill Fleeces, sport weight, farm yarn, which I don't think she has on her website yet, but she will at some point this summer. I think she's going to be doing like the trunk show in July at Yarns by Design. So maybe after that, she'll have it in her shop. I don't know. You'll just have to keep tabs on that if you're interested. Okay, so I think that's it on projects. So this isn't a very long episode, is it? Oh well, at least I got one in, right? And oh, I do have, okay, so I'm gonna be having a giveaway probably on my next podcast. I was gonna do it this one, but this was a last minute decision to podcast today, and so I didn't have everything gathered up. But here's the funny thing. Last winter, as in the winter of 2019-2020, I had said that I was going to do a 5,000 subscriber giveaway. So once I hit 5,000 subscribers, I was going to do a giveaway. And I had purchased some stuff, and I had a yarn dyer donate a mini skein set. And then I hit 5,000 subscribers, and then all of a sudden I lost a bunch. It was so weird. So I thought, well, I'm just gonna do the giveaway anyway. I don't care. But then I didn't film a podcast for what, a year? And so I filmed so this is my third video this year, I think. And now I'm up past 5,000 subscribers. So I'm going to do this giveaway probably the next podcast because I just want to have a little bit more time to gather stuff up. I literally bought this stuff last February, January maybe. So I've put it in various places and I need to find it. And then I will gather it all up and I will do the giveaway, like I said, hopefully the next episode. So I think that's all I have today. No, it's not. I wanted to do one last thing, but this isn't knitted related. I just want to show you guys a couple different books because I did this the last podcast and I love books, and I know a lot of other knitters love books as well. Real quick, I have 3 books here that are new that I've just gotten within the last 2 months, and I wanted to share it with you. The first one is a Ruth Chou Simons, Beholding and Becoming. So this is like a spiritual book. It's a Christian book, and it is a beautiful devotion. It's the art of everyday worship. It is so beautiful. And if you're not familiar with her, she's an artist and an author. I have one of her prints out in my entryway, but I think she does mostly watercolor, but this book is just gorgeous, and it has devotionals. And this really focuses on beholding God and his attributes, and then becoming more like him. So that's, I think, the title, Beholding and Becoming. It's just beautiful. It's a really pretty book. Nice hardcover, a nice satin ribbon to keep your place. And I have one devotional left, and I will be finished. So I can say with full confidence that this is a very lovely book, and also a solid, it's biblically solid as well. Okay, then the next 2 I have are gardening books. Oh my gosh, I love this book. I love it. Beatrix Potter's Gardening Life, The Plants and Places That Inspired the Classic Children's Tales by Marta McDowell. I love this book. This book is it has her original watercolor paintings. It talks about just her gardening journey. And then at the end, it has a whole index of all the different flowers and plants that she had in her gardens. It's like pages of it. So if you are a gardener, I think you will enjoy this because it's story, it's biography, but it's also like gardening inspiration, all tucked into one book. and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. I love it. I was actually down by the creek last night. The creek is really high because we've had a lot of rain lately. And I was down by the creek last night and I was just reading and listening to the water and looking at all the beautiful green around me and the wildflowers. It was so pretty. But anyway, this is a great book. And then the last one, which is also, this is a very informative. This is like a good resource book, okay? Floret Farms Cut Flower Garden. Grow, harvest, and arrange stunning seasonal blooms. I love my flowers. I love to grow flowers. I love to make floral arrangements. I don't typically do, I do very laid back cottagey arrangements. I include herbs in mine. I will include tree branches. I will put in vegetable, you know, like lettuce leaves, kale leaves, that kind of thing. But anyway, this is just, she goes through all the different kinds of flowers. Like, look, it's just a beautiful book. Look, it's beautiful. Dahlias here. Let's see. And then not only does she go through them, but then she tells you like different ways of arranging them. How to use things that you wouldn't normally think of using in your bouquets. Just really, it's very inspirational as well as a good resource. Rudbeckia, I love it. I hope mine do well this year. Mine are so young. I just planted them last year, so we got a few flowers on them last year. I'm hoping, and my cone flowers as well. I'm hoping they do get even bigger this year. So anyway, yeah, just a really gorgeous book. That's a good resource, inspirational, and it tickles the eyes because I love to look at beautiful things. That's why I love all three of these books. All three of these books are beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous and inspiring and inspirational. And if you want some biblical direction, this one has that in it as well. So, friends, thank you so much for watching. And I want to say thank you so much for all of your kind comments on my last episode. I think this is only my second episode this year because I just did my one little, hey, how you doing, everybody? That was only like a 7-minute video. Okay, but it doesn't matter. Thank you guys so much for watching and for commenting and saying hello. That just makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good. And thank you for subscribing because I have had some new subscribers. So I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, it just makes it so, it makes it fun to get on here and podcast when you know that people are connecting with what you have to say. And they're wanting to hear what you have to say, because that's really nice to hear. So I think what I'm going to do for my next episode is get the giveaway gathered up so we can do that, and I'll have some more projects that, because I have a sweater that I keep meaning to cast on. It's actually like a sweater or a summer tee. I want to mention a few podcasts that I've been listening to that I can't remember their names of off the top of my head right now because they're newer podcasts, at least to me. So I'll try to have that all gathered up for the next episode. But if you're interested in the dollhouse, I will put a little thing on at the end of this video. And if not, that's okay, because I know not everybody is into having a dollhouse. I'm a 40-some-year-old with a dollhouse. You know, it's kind of funny, but I always wanted one, and I love to decorate, and my house is decorated. My house is how I want it. And so I thought, how much fun would it be to have a dollhouse, to fix it all up inside, and, you know, I'm going to have grandkids someday. So, all right, guys, well, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Okay, friends, so I'm going to show you my dollhouse. It's in the corner of our room. I just have it on a table in the corner. There's my yarn. So let me get you flipped around here. Okay, so here is my little 2-door dollhouse. And isn't that blue door just fantastic? I love that so much. I'm keeping the exterior just as it is, as far as like oops, as far as paint, and I'm not repainting. I'm not doing anything to the outside. I'll fix up this. It's really hard to never mind. I'm doing a horrible job with this. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff out here and fix it up like in the yard. But I want to show you the actual inside of this. Okay, so here is the inside. Yes, that is a spatula. I was using it to scrape off stuff. So it has... So the woman that owned this, her and her husband had built it together, and then he had passed away and she was moving into a high-rise, so she didn't have room to take this. But she had this set up as the bathroom. This was the bedroom, living room, and the kitchen. And it is horrendous looking now, isn't it? I scraped and peeled off as much of the paper and carpet and wallpaper as I could, but she had actually used real wallpaper. So it is going to require some like wallpaper remover. I'm going to look up a natural recipe for that so that I'm not using toxic chemicals. I prefer not to do that. And yeah, so look, I did this and then I got sick. And so I kind of left it go. See, some of this, I just need to work at it. You know, I need to work on it. What I really want to do is just have somebody else work on this part so I can do the fun part of decorating. But that is just ridiculous, Amber, right? Ridiculous. So the kitchen, I actually have furniture already. She had given me it fully furnished. Well, she didn't give, I bought it fully furnished. So I have some stuff that I'm going to use. And I'm going to mostly do this DIY. So I bought some clay that I'm going to use to make like a cobblestone type floor in the kitchen because I want this to be very cottagey looking. And this is the only thing I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get all this wallpaper up the stairwell out? It's going to be tough. See, it was like this mauve carpet. Anyway, that is the inside. So it's not a huge dollhouse, but I thought it's good enough for me doing this for the first time. And on my Etsy account, like I've been saving, hold on, let me pause this. It's just so beautiful. So on my Etsy account, I've been saving like cute little things, cute little like decor and all that. I love miniatures. So that is the dollhouse. I will keep you guys updated as I get around to it. I don't know how much I'm actually going to get done in the summer because I'm so busy with gardening. It was supposed to be my winter project and I just didn't get to it. So we'll see. We will see. I just need to work on it a little bit at a time, and I can keep you guys updated on here from time to time as well. So, okay, thanks. Take care.